if I can talk her into another trip. Yeah, she's shaking her head yes, so I guess that was
Yeah,
easy.
sure. Why not?
Oh yeah.
I've clicked the go live button, guys. So
Oh,
we're getting pretty
fantastic.
close to getting this show on the road. And as people are kind of rolling in here tonight, we want to make sure that they know that we do this little lead-in introduction so you guys can catch up on some ads if you're not paying for YouTube Premium, and you can catch up with everything going on. I want to welcome everybody to the Male Beard Grooming channel, and this is the show where we talk all about beard grooming. I'm kidding. It's the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and it's powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. I'm glad that we're back here again tonight. If you've made it here, that's because you wanted to see the guy downstairs, Dan, and talk a little bit about beard grooming. I mean, about hot rods and all that sort of thing. But before we get into that, my name is Jason. I am the car guy of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and this character over here.
That makes me. I'm Grant. I'm straight Six Fan on YouTube. I am Six Fan of this operation, and yes, we are in season 8, the greatest hits of the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. And we're trying to bring back some of our most liked guests, and this is a little bit. We're cheating a little bit today because Dan actually never appeared on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show. However, he did appear on my once a year live stream the Hangovers Hangout, which is New Year's Day. And so Dan was my guest here this last go around. So with that, I'd like to go down below and let Dan introduce himself to the rest of the crew.
Hey there, everybody. I'm Dan from Greasy Boy Kustoms. If you don't know me, I do provocative work on hot rods and cars, and I usually wear pants, but tonight I'm not. And so yeah, I do hot rods, rat rods. I do YouTube content stuff, just kind of getting into it, and actually inspired by the two gentlemen you see pictured above me. Lots of tips and tricks from these guys have gotten me to a very good point. And yeah, I've got all the regular social medias. Some of it's funny, some of it's serious. We do tech tips. I like talking about old rusty stuff, motorcycles, and all that good stuff.
Well, Dan, it's great to have you a part of the show. Before we kind of get into the meat and potatoes of the show, we do have a few housekeeping things that we want to touch on. And for those of you guys who are not aware, the Car Guy and Six Fan Show is powered by the Get Out and Drive podcast. The Get Out and Drive podcast is a show that I do co-host with my buddy John. And we talk a lot about cars. We interview some great people over there as well. And because it's a podcast format, you don't get to look at us, which is good on John's behalf. But nevertheless, we have a lot of fun. We introduce a lot of great guys. And also, for those of you who don't know about the National Get Out and Drive Day, it happens on the first Sunday of October. This year, it's on October 2nd, where you can get out and drive. If you want to go over to getoutandDrive.com, register for National Get Out and Drive Day, and we'll send you a sticker. And you can make sure that you get out there and tag us for National Get Out and Drive Day. And if you want to listen to the Get Out and Drive podcast, it is available on all major podcast platforms and at getoutandDrive.com. Grant, who do we have in the chat that's joining us tonight?
We do have a healthy group joining us already. So Everything is Broken Garage was in there bright and early. Uncle Squirrel, Mopar Dan, Will's Wheels, 1950 Special Deluxe. I think that's a new name to the chat. So welcome. I'm guessing Dan brought him over. Paul Meyer, Turlo's Garage, Hermie Herm, Haggard Hot Rods, Martin's Garage. Let's see. Of course, Joanne and the Get Out and Drive podcast. They're both in here as well. Trucker Dave, and I think that's what I'm seeing so far. So, but yeah, awesome group. So Jason, why don't you kick us off with the first question?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess the biggest question that we want to do, just kind of get things out of the way, is I want to talk about that gorgeous beard. No, I'm kidding. I keep going back to the beards. But no, we're not talking about beards tonight. I guess I want to touch base on exactly what it is that you do. You've got a business that you operate, and specifically you're doing a lot of custom work, custom fab work. You're doing engine builds. You're doing just about everything. So tell us kind of a elevator pitch of what Greasy Boy Kustoms really does.
All right. So I don't know if there's a straight answer for that. I'll do anything that'll make $1. I just converted a bus into an ice cream truck. That's not the norm. So the norm is traditionally I try to stick to 70s and older classic vehicles. I do anything from sheet metal repair to electrical, new wiring harnesses. We do suspension, steering, upgrades, air conditioning, just any cool custom touch you can do to your vehicle. Now, with that being said, we're not dead set on 1970s and older vehicles. I do favor Fords, specifically 60s and older Fords. But I mean, we've got a Datsun there right now. I've got a 1953 Dodge M37 that we just did some engine swaps on. I've even got a guy who contacted me with a 1962 Mercury Comet to put a Nissan 6-cylinder in it, and I'm not opposed to it because it's stupid and weird, and I think it'll be fun. So, that's the gist of it, though.
Is it like the what is it, the RB26 or whatever?
I am completely ignorant on foreign car engine discussions. Like, I know the 70s Datsun engines and like a Toyota was a 22R. Like, I'm familiar with those, but this gentleman was foreign, and I had trouble understanding with the language barrier on the phone, and he kept saying Nissan Skyline. So whatever that motor was,
I think that's what it is. I think it's a RB26 or something. Yeah, I don't know. When you're straight six fan, you try to research as many for as many hashtags as possible. You start to try to learn these things.
This car was a straight six car with the infamous Ford 170 straight six. So, I wish he wanted to keep that. He said either a Nissan or he wants to LS swap it, which, oh my God, I'm sick of LS swaps.
Well, you're in the right place tonight, Dan. So
I know. Everybody's probably hating on it now, but it is what it is.
Well, Dan, I want to go back to when we did have you on the Hangovers and Hangouts New Year's Day event. I know what I love about your channel and some of your roots. Well, now my mind wants to go somewhere else. Actually, ADD's kicking in.
That happens when people talk to me sometimes.
Is that just the growth your channel has seen since that point to now? Like you had a really awesome kind of spike there, kind of based around a Coyote build. But,
yes. So
we'll circle back around to that eventually.
Okay. All right.
And talk about that. But so one of the things we brought up was your 50s Ford, your four-door sedan that you have, the green one. That's kind of the staple. Yeah,
it's the mascot.
It's your icon, really.
Yeah.
And I remember you described it as it's like your, not in these words exact, but it's like your test kitchen, right? Like it's like, I'm just going to experiment, and if I want to try something new and not being afraid to, it's your platform. So talk a little bit about that car, what it's meant to you, and like how rewarding it's been to have it as like this living, breathing test mule.
I don't know if rewarding is the right word. It has been chaos. I acquired the car in a bad situation. I had a really cool chopped pickup truck that I built, a 47 Ford, that we named Sleepy Time because the exhaust fumes would come in the cab and knock you out. And but I had to sell it. I was in a financial pinch, and then I ended up recovering, and so I acquired the shoebox. And the idea for the shoebox was just to build a cool hot rod, but then it turned into a test bench because I came across these new products, and I had just started taking on customers at that time. And they were asking me about products, and I couldn't give honest opinions because I hadn't used them. So it became a test vehicle. It was, and it works because I'd rather catch mine on fire or blow mine up than a customer's, right? But it has been rewarding too because I've got to experiment on it. I've got to try things out that I was reluctant to try out because I'm like, the hell with it. It's mine. Who cares? What's going to happen? I'm just going to have to fix it. So it is fun, and it's been chaos between transmissions blowing up and engines blowing up and catching on fire and just all kinds of havoc. But it is a fun vehicle. There's no carpet in it. There's no door panels. There's no headliner. And my girlfriend and our girls absolutely love riding around it. It rattles, it bangs, the paint flakes off while you're driving down the road. The radio is like $25 Walmart radio. Actually, excuse me, I bought that on wish.com. I'm going to take that back. It was $20. And but I love it, and people compliment it for some reason, and other people see the same thing I see, I guess. So I think I answered your question. I might have got a little distracted.
Well, the one of the things that you mentioned that was testing out products.
Yes.
And one of the things I learned about watching some of the things that you do is the use of the Phytech fuel injection
Yes.
on different products. Uh, when I got when I was contemplating doing the setup for my truck, I reached out to you to see,
Yeah.
get a little bit of an opinion on it. You had lots of great things to say, and as time goes on, one of the things I'm learning about Phytech is that there's a lot of haters.
Yeah.
But 9 times out of 10, the problems arising from an install on those EFI systems generally is user created or installer created problems. So tell us a little bit about some of the, maybe not specifically Phytech, but testing out these products. How do you go about testing them with or without sponsorship maybe, and kind of giving those opinions and saying, okay, well, this, if I was going to do something different, this is how I would do it? Or how do you overcome some of those challenges when you're dealing with new products?
It's kind of just throwing it to the wind and just seeing what sticks. Unfortunately, I haven't been lucky enough to obtain any sponsorship with any of these products. I hope that I get to in the future. That would be lovely. And I've used the Phytech's a great example because I've used Holly Sniper, I've used Fast Fuel, I've used Phytech, and they all have their pros and cons. Phytech, and even the 2 units I've installed recently, one went amazing. The one on the M37, it set up so nice and it tuned in so easy, and I had no problems. And then the one that I put on a customer's truck, it was disastrous. And so the trial and error doesn't always work out, unfortunately. The one I'd put on the customer's truck, there was just problem after problem after problem. Phytech was great. They worked with me. They had a great tech line. They have great tech videos they put up on there. And, eventually the problem was resolved. And my customer still decided he just wanted a carburetor. So we made a deal, and I actually put that Phytech on my shoebox. And I ran it on my shoebox for a year, and I thought that was a great test because I got to run a really solid test on it. And if it failed on me, and I could know how to react and adjust the problem. And it did fail on me. It actually, on the way back from Virginia, it just cut off while I was going down the road. And come to find out, it was a user error. It was an installer error. I actually had a poor connection on my ignition input wire, and I was able to determine that and find it. But even with other products, new air ride compressors or different tools I'm using in the shop or different wiring connectors, weather pack terminals, trying them out. Unfortunately, sometimes I just have to spend the money out of my pocket and just try it out and see if it works. And a lot of stuff ends up in the trash. I have thrown parts that were $300 in the garbage just to save my friend from using it or my customer from using it. It's hit or miss. I do everything by the seat of my pants, which is probably not the smart thing to do, but here I am.
Well, the M37 that you're building for a customer, I know also that's our buddy Joshua Joyce has his crew cab M37 Rat Rod 1. And then I'm forgetting blanking on the third guy I'm thinking of, mutual buddy in that same.
Oh, B-Dub, Brian
B-Dub,
White.
yeah, is building one as well. What is the obsession in the Rat Rod community with the M37? Help me understand it.
Well, I didn't understand it at first either. I was not into military trucks or classic Dodges, and the Dodge Power Wagon and the M37 have a lot of similarities, minus, the fender shapes and stuff like that. But the drivetrain, axles, frame, things like that are very similar. I didn't understand it. And then I rode in his, and I was like, this is really cool. And I rode in Josh's, and everybody kept calling it a Hummer or a Humvee. Oh, that's first generation Humvee. And it's not at all. And I get it. But the more and more I got into rat rods and going to rat rod shows, everybody's repurposing these military trucks because the military, when the U.S. military builds trucks, everything has a purpose. There is nothing extra. There are no frills. There is no BS in the way. Everything is there for a reason and purpose built. And I think hot rodders and rat rodders enjoy that because if you're into a bare bones car, why not start off with a bare bones vehicle? That much less stuff you have to get rid of. And they look mean and aggressive. They're supposed to be a little intimidating. And it's just, I get it now. And they're plentiful as well. You can buy them at auctions for reasonable prices. You can find them. A lot of farmers around here repurpose them as farm vehicles because they are tough as crap, even with that stock 6-cylinder in them. So I get it. Anything like that. Even the Jeeps, the old Willys bodies, like the World War II style bodies, those have become popular for hot rods. Budget Rides just did one with a 2JZ engine in it or something like that. And there was a couple at Josh's show. It's fun, and you can put anything in them. There's no limits. There's no rule book. You do whatever you want.
Well, and that's the thing. We talk about, certain, before we went live, we were talking about, the rules and regulations of certain shows or certain events that, if your air breather cap was a year different from what it was supposed to have, you're all poo-pooed and whatever.
Yeah.
The point of hot rod building or custom work is that you're building a car for a specific purpose. Mm-hmm. And if your customer wants X, Y, and Z as part of his build, well, that's what you're going to do for him.
Yeah.
Right. Because he's having it built for him, not necessarily for your taste. Where the experience comes in is to say, okay, in my experience, this doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right. And so then you're able to say, we can do what you want to do, but let's take a look at this, because where does that experience come from for you to be able to tell your customer, this is going to work or this isn't going to work?
Yeah. Well, and it's just that. It's trial and error. Most of it's personal experience. Before I was building customer cars, I was building my own, helping my friends. I've been a mechanic for 20 years, but I've been into classic cars since I was a teenager. And I screwed up a lot. I destroyed a lot of things. I broke a lot of bolts off. I put a lot of wrong carburetors on and timed things way off. And, I can't tell you how many cars I've caught on fire when I was a teenager. And, you transfer all that. And not saying that a young person is not knowledgeable or doesn't have that experience, but I've been doing it a while, and, you should trust me.
Well, and I think we do trust you. That's why we had you on, Dan. And one of the things you talk about, of course, with the experience comes the ability also to maybe just try different things, because at some point you know what works, what doesn't really matter what the platform is. And I want to talk about your Roadster a little bit. And what I love about it is, it's, if I'm not mistaken, maybe I've made this up, but it's got about the smallest displacement V8 that Ford put together in the Windsor line. The 260, I believe, is what it's.
I think it's the next. It is a 260. You are correct, but I believe, and somebody who's a Ford guy may correct me, I think they made a 240 V8 that was in the same category, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Well,
in the Windsor line, yes. But
for whatever reason, I mean, I've been on this kick probably like about last year or so. Like, I'm just kind of in love with small displacement V8s, but again, it goes back to when you have the experience, it doesn't really matter what the displacement is. It's just, especially for that car, there's so little weight. It's really cool. It's the perfect example of look, the parts and the pieces can come from just about anywhere, and you can still make a badass ride. So talk a little bit about the Roadster and what are the parts and pieces that you are most unique or you like the most.
The Roadster is an absolute Frankenstein basket case mess. And the idea was, like Jason said earlier, hot rodding is, building your car for you, doing the most you can with what you have at hand material wise and your skill set. So whether a 10-year-old's building it or a 50-year-old's building it, and they have completely different skill sets, you're still building that hot rod for you to what your dream is. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. So that's what I did with this car. I pretended not like I was building it for a customer, but like I was building it for myself and trying to be as cheap as possible, but not sacrifice quality. And so that's where it started. And I started gathering pieces, and I found a cowl, actually from Josh. It was a 31 Model A cowl. No idea where it came from. It was half rotted, but it was there. And the frame was hand built. The The rear suspension is just a 2-link. The engine, transmission, and rear axle came out of a 1963 Fairlane, so it actually has a 2-speed Ford-O-Matic transmission in it, which I regret every day. I don't know why I don't put overdrive transmissions in my cars. It's a really stupid thing not to. And, but it's a match set. So I was like, oh, you got a match drivetrain. It's going to operate great. It's going to drive like a 63 Fairlane, which it does not. But, the side of the car is scrap sheet metal. The back wall's like a 40s Ford truck that had bullet holes in it. And the car started off at Bernie Fest as one of the projects. I was talking to Josh and I was like, I've got an engine, transmission, axles. I've got, material for a frame. I've got materials for a body. And he's like, Bernie Fest build. So like all those people, 20, 30 people there, got the car, a good ways done, rolling on a chassis. And then it was up to me to finish it. And I had to keep reminding myself that it was my car and it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks about it. And I'm not going to grind those welds down because you know what? It doesn't make it any less fun. So I didn't do all that pretty work. There are nasty welds on there. There are gaps that aren't even close to lined up, but you know what? I can't see them while I'm driving and nobody riding in it cares. And it's obnoxious and it's not fun to drive more than like 30 minutes. It's a bar hopper at best. But you know what? There's no rules. It's hot rodding. You do whatever you want.
Well, and that is what it's all about. Guys, Jimmy C and friends has jumped into the chat and saying hi to everybody. Make sure that if you are here and you like what you're seeing tonight, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and do us a favor. Hit that share button. Make sure you share this out. And if you are inclined to do any super chat donations tonight, make sure you remember that we're keeping track of those because at the end of the season, we're going to be giving back in some fashion to those who have chosen to donate their hard-earned money to the Car Guy Six Fan Show. Dan, what was the inspiration that got you into cars? I like to ask this question because most of the time it's a father figure, a grandfather figure, or something like that. But there's always a really cool story that kind of goes behind that or with that. So I want to hear what yours is. Like how does Dan become Greasy Boy Kustoms? What got you to where you are?
My friends are idiots.
Yeah,
the case too. I love all of them dearly. Honestly, though, truly, it started with my dad, like most young men. My dad and my grandfather scratch build remote control airplanes, big, beautiful ones. I mean, anything from a small 30-inch wingspan to an 80-inch, super detailed. I will never be able to build airplanes like he does. I mean, it's mind-boggling. So when we were kids, he was kind of a gearhead. He never had like a really awesome car. He had a 68 Bug as his first car. And it was fun. And he grew up, he graduated high school in the 70s. So he went to school with all those kids that had like Chevelles with 513 gears in them and stupid stuff like that, doing wheelies in the parking lot. Like he lived dazed and confused. That he absolutely was one of those guys. And, so he got us into it, and then he started taking us to car shows, and he'd take us to the drag strip, and then we played with the remote control airplanes, then remote control cars, and he's buying us plastic car models and taking us to cruise-ins. And, my grandfather, he was involved there too. And then when it came to my teenage years and I had to get a vehicle, I was like, oh, mom and dad are going to help me buy a car. Well, no, they're not. They bought my sister a car, but we were all out of luck, all three of us, the boys. So, I saved up my money, and the only thing I could afford was a 1964 F100 short bed, straight side, 292, 3-speed on the column. I bought it from an old farmer around here for $1,000. And I blew it up in 2 weeks. I was doing burnouts in front of my house while my parents weren't home because I was like 15. I didn't have my license. And I absolutely shattered the bell housing and the flywheel, and chunks came through the floor. And that incident solidified my joy of classic cars, and it was absolutely amazing. And then my friends all got into cars, and we all had these old Ford and Chevy trucks, and we were taking headers out of a junkyard and bending them around trees to make them work and using our Walmart tools. And it was just a total shit show, for lack of better terms. And it grew into this. I actually had a job and had money and could buy decent cars. And I spent every dime I had on cars and guitars, and that has not slowed down a bit. Luckily, my girlfriend is financially responsible and oversees most of this, but I still sneak stuff in.
We all have to. And there were a couple people who stuck in some super chats. So on behalf of Jason, I did want to say thanks to both Turlo's Garage as well as it was Junker Clunkers, I believe, who threw some bones his way. And so Dan, I want to go back to the that ADD moment for me earlier on when I was trying.
I already forgot about it. What were we talking about?
Yeah. So since having you on the New Year's live stream, to now, you kind of experienced a nice little blip on the radar. Something, the heartbeat went up. The stats all of a sudden started climbing. So talk a little bit about what took your channel from, kind of this lower level to you kind of took the next step with a good jump here recently, the last 2 or 3 months.
I started wearing shorts, and it really took off. I do have a pair of shorts that I wear in the shop that I've been told I'm not allowed to wear in public because they are
Do
quite
not
risky.
stand up. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I have pants on.
No, please.
Yeah, I do. But so actually, I was actually watching one of your guys' shows maybe a month or two ago, and you were talking about TikTok and how it's a platform, it's free, use it. And I had already had a TikTok, and I was like, I'd seen some reactions from it. I'd gotten emails and possible, clients from it and doing quotes for people. And then I did that one video. So coyote swaps are Daisy Dukes. Absolutely. Coyote swaps are super popular, especially with the first gen Broncos, because the first gen Broncos price has gone through the roof so much. It's ridiculous. Them and the Scouts and the K5 Blazers, it's absolutely insane what's happened to them. And I was doing this coyote swap, and it was a stupid video. Like, I thought it was just like haha funny, and I was going to put it up. And the next thing I know, it's got like 500,000 views on TikTok, which is not the first time I've had that happen, but this one relayed over to my YouTube channel. So I go to bed that night. I have like 990 subscribers. Like, I'm right there on that cusp of hitting my 1,000 on YouTube. And I wake up to 4,500 subscribers the next morning. And I was like, oh God, what happened? Did somebody upload those naked videos of me from Mexico? I didn't know. By the way, they're out there somewhere. I can't find them. And so I didn't know what happened, and I started looking into it. And sure enough, it was that video. Those people clicked on the link, and they actually went to YouTube, and they subscribed. And I had this huge increase in followers on TikTok too. I went from 16,000 to high 20,000s. I think I'm a little over 30 now, which is my 12-year-old daughter thinks that is awesome that I have that many people on TikTok. Her friends watch me, so now I have to watch my mouth when I'm on there. But yeah, if you would have told me a year ago that TikTok was going to propel me to this point, I would have called you a liar. But like you guys said in your video, it's a free platform. Use it. Why not? It's available. It's not any extra work. You can take the same video that you made for Instagram or for YouTube, and you can add it and edit it and change it and put it on TikTok. It's another platform. It's free. The only thing I don't do is Twitter, I think. And I don't have an OnlyFans yet. But, I am not embarrassed. I will do anything for $1.
Hey everybody, I'm Dirty Dan.
Well, one of the things, yeah, there you are. I'm just going to play this in the background a little bit. Like,
oh yeah,
one of the things that we do, we try to encourage, and we've had different guests with very, very successful TikTok accounts on there last year, and one of the things they tell you is that is like it's like a stepping stone or a map to encourage people who may find you on TikTok that haven't found you on YouTube yet, to find out more of the story. And one of the big ones that comes to mind is AK Strem, who's building that Rat S10, who does these quick videos. It's minute at a time. He's hyper, he's very energetic, and he's comical, and he's got lots to say in a short period of time. And at the end of those videos, it's, if you want to catch more on this build, head over to my YouTube channel. And I think it's just an avenue that we can be using. And anybody that's in the chat, if you're not using TikTok yet, I'm going to encourage it. And I know Dan probably would too, because of the story you just told, that make sure that you're using that, because you don't have to be doing anything necessarily fun or silly or stupid or whatever. It's just another avenue to have your brand out there. And I think, Dan, I was checking before we went live. I mean, you just recently kind of jumped over that 30,000 follower mark on TikTok, and it seems like it's climbing every day. And I'm on TikTok forever, and I catch myself for probably hours on end by times, I guess. Just
Oh no, me too. Me and the
the
missus
robotic-
sit in bed showing each other videos.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, and I'm finding new channels all the time. And I think that if I'm doing it, chances are other people are doing the same thing. So if you see something you like, then you're going to go follow that and get more of that information, and not just the little tidbits and snippets that you're seeing on TikTok.
And I just wanted to add to Jason, as what Dan said was, if you're smart about it and you just film it on your phone, and you're like, it's going to be a 60-second format thing, and then you upload it. It can be a YouTube short, it can be a TikTok, it can be an Instagram reel. It's amazing, because I've adopted that strategy lately, but it's amazing like how inconsistently one's the clubhouse leader, right? Like it's like, oh, this one blew up on Instagram Reels, but it flopped on. So it's like the same amount of effort. It's just maybe 3 times the effort of uploading. If you have fast internet, it's really not that big of a deal. But
I'll upload it, throw my phone on the bench, and go back to work and wait till it's done, because my shop's in the woods. But yeah, you're absolutely right with the inconsistency. It's mind blowing. I did a video a couple weeks ago that I was really proud of. I did one of those stop animation videos. I love the Haggerty videos where they do the stop animation on the engines coming apart. So I did one on the Bronco, and I put one of my favorite Cake songs in the background. And I was like, it was 100 and something pictures. It took me like an hour to do that video, and it bombed so bad on all 3 platforms. And then, I smoke a cigarette and spray ether, and I get 5,000 comments. So I still haven't figured it out yet. So, and it's disheartening at some point, because you put so much effort into it, and you're like, this is so awesome. I'm so proud of it. And everybody's just going, boo. And you just keep going.
It's funny you say that, because I had somewhat of an epiphany there about a week ago, thinking, here we are, we're trying to do videos, we're trying to do our best, we're trying to show off what we're doing, we're trying to, make some interesting content. And sometimes that stuff just bombs. It doesn't get any views, or it doesn't do this, or doesn't do that. And I thought, well, what if we catered to the haters?
Yes.
Because they're the ones that watch, they're the ones that comment, they're the ones that make you known because of something stupid you may have done. Why aren't we catering to them? So Grant and I talked about the whole TikTok thing once before, about, okay, well, if we'd had a little bit of a series of, okay, if you did this today and then did this tomorrow and then did it on the same car or the same topic, to see if it would progress into more views. If we did something similar, purposeful, for the haters to hate, I'd be interested just to see what kind of, I don't know, what kind of buzz it would create on those platforms by doing, upload it to YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and see where all that buzz generally tends to come from on something purpose built for those guys. You know where I'm going with this?
Yes, and I'll say these 2 things. First, that I thought that I had the same thought a while back, and I noticed that videos on TikTok where you ask people to join in the conversation or answer a question, and a toxic one that is going to cause a debate. What's the best engine? Why is Chevy better than Ford? Things like that. You're going to get the haters, and they're going to comment. And most of the time, you can stay out of the conversation and just watch them have at it. But at the same time, if you're doing that, you'll have to change your name to Whistling Diesel. Because that is exactly what he does. And it's like he goes out of his way to upset people and crush Toyota Hiluxes and bash perfectly beautiful 70s Ford trucks into a tree with a bulldozer. But you know what? That's exactly what he's doing. And he's figured it out. And he's probably making really good money doing it. So Is it such a bad idea? I don't think so. But I guess it goes back to, are you stooping to their level or are you just being entertaining? And I guess there's a fine line there, whether you're just stirring the pot or actually being entertaining. And that's where I have trouble finding, the middle ground. And I go over to the other side sometimes and it doesn't work out.
Well, I mean, I think it's also important to just think about where is this all actually heading. And I think the vertical format video is probably, whether you want to admit it or not, is probably going to be the more popular one in the next 10 years.
Yes, everybody's watching on their mobile devices. Why wouldn't everything be catered to mobile devices?
Yeah, and I think part of it is like the quicker you are to adapt to that, or be one of the first ones to. And so, like, I'm almost to the point of like, I mean, I think about how I consume content myself. And it's like, I honestly don't watch that many YouTube videos anymore. It really is. I spend, unfortunately, like the hour on TikTok, like you guys were talking about. You're like, oh shit, what the hell did I just do with my life for an hour? But all that stuff. And like, I love watching Josh's Instagram stories. Like I probably don't go a day without watching Welder Up and Josh's Instagram stories. There's usually something funny and good and like,
oh yeah,
like, and that's 15 seconds at a time, right? So I think part of it's just, but YouTube's not going to die anytime soon. But I think it's healthy to be dipping our toe in these other realms. I guess I don't exactly know where I was going with that, and don't have a question for you, Dan.
No, well, I'd like to add something to it really quick, and before I completely derail the conversation, and I'd said to you actually when we did our hangover thing that most of my viewing is based off what I watch on the toilet. So there's a time frame there. Because when I was working for somebody else, obviously I didn't care about how much time I spent in the bathroom. So I was watching 5-10 minute videos. And so, I wasn't soaking in those 30-minute videos and then these reels and shorts and TikTok videos, and they're 30 seconds, 90 seconds, a minute, whatever they are. They draw you in and catch you, like your guys' B-roll stuff, it was 90 seconds, I think it was, that's, if you can capture somebody in that 90 seconds, you can capture them for a 5-minute video, I believe, or at least a good amount of them. So yes, I do think we need to invest more in these short form videos. Unfortunately, I do like the long form stuff, but you can still provide the long form. And that's what I do. I lure them in with the provocative TikTok videos. And then we bring them into the YouTube for the build series for 5 to 10 minute videos and try to draw them in that way. It doesn't always work. I haven't gotten it figured out. I don't think I'll ever get it figured out, but we'll see.
Well, and I think that's part of the journey is really just trying to figure it all out, right? We don't do this. We don't do our builds, and we don't take that couple of seconds extra to grab your phone and shoot a quick little clip and literally stop doing what you're getting paid to do to entertain you guys. We don't do that. Because we're having fun sometimes. We're doing that because we feel obligated. We feel like, okay, if I'm going to do this next job, whatever it happens to be, I need to make sure that the TikTokers and the Reels and the YouTube Shorts guys know exactly what's going on. And back to what Grant said, I have to look at it from a standpoint of how do I consume my entertainment. Whether it's on the toilet or whether it's just sitting on a chair or whether it's whatever it happens to be, like, the vertical format seems to be taking over.
Yeah,
but if we go back in time to the advent of the television, when it became more and more popular, people gathered to watch the same show every night, every week, blah, blah, blah. And even today, I think we're used to watching shows and whatnot in the format that we're actually doing it right now, in the horizontal format. So to do those long form videos, yes, it takes more effort because there's clips, there's edits, there's sound quality, there's lighting, there's not messing up your words and your lines and making things say, there we go. See, we can even switch things up. And Dan, you got a little something right there. No, I'm kidding.
It's my nose. It's huge.
I think the idea is that if we're hitting all the platforms and we're hitting all the genres and all the vertical, horizontal, blah, 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 we're making ourselves more available to everybody on every aspect of social media. And I think that's part of kind of where this conversation kind of headed. Before we kind of keep beating on that nail, I think I really wanted to change the subject a little bit tonight. Grant, did you
Can I
have
just,
something you wanted to add to that?
one thing to that? Is I think, and I kind of had an epiphany while you were saying that, is if as a creator you're trying all 4 different platforms or whatever that magic number is, it might actually help you find out where you excel the best, right? So like maybe I started as a YouTuber, but I was like, oh shit, I'm doing really good over here in the TikTok world, and maybe I should spend less and less time on these other 3. Like I think there's something healthy about that. It's like, yes,
Absolutely.
the dream. I think YouTube's got the best at the moment, the best monetization opportunities, like entry level and things like that. But it doesn't necessarily mean that that's necessarily your best landing spot. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Wait, you guys get paid on YouTube? I haven't yet, man. I was so mad when I hit over my 1,000. I was like, yes, bring the tens of pennies to me. And then I realized that I don't have enough view hours. And then I was like, oh. And so I'm trying to get my view hours up. I think you have to have 4,000. And I think I'm at like 3,500. And I've been struggling. And
it'll come sooner than you think, really.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. I'm making money on TikTok, though, which I found out today. Our friends north of the border do not get the monetization from TikTok, from a Canadian TikToker, girl, Georgia. She does lowrider stuff. I don't get why. I don't know. They don't like doing that. I mean, you can make money on YouTube in Canada, right?
On YouTube we can, and I believe Instagram we cannot. I thought TikTok you could.
The video I saw, the lady had said that she was not able to access the creator fund, which it's not that good, but
yeah. Well, there might be something behind that, but one thing I did want to talk about a little bit tonight too, before we run out of time, is something that's pretty hot in the news right now, and that is Dodge's big announcement to what everyone's calling kill the muscle car, and kind of move into the move away from the high horsepower gas and supercharged Chargers and Challengers and all this stuff, and moving into something EV. And I get where the world kind of is.
That's
making that. It is a little bit, but at the end of the day, I want to have a conversation around that, because it does today. It's today's news. It's over the last couple of days, big news around. This is your last chance to buy a brand new Challenger or Charger, and after 2023, they're switching to an EV concept. Granted, the car looks awesome. I mean, I think if I was going EV, I think this new Charger Daytona, blah blah blah, whatever they're calling it, is going to be successful based on its looks, because it's not weird looking. It's not odd.
It's not a Tesla.
It's not a Tesla, exactly. And it's competing with that exact market. So, if you want to get into something that's hot and still has performance, it's EV. Like that is the direction that the world wants us to go. I'm not saying we have to accept it, but I think Dodge is off to a good start with kind of embracing the fact that, okay, just because we got to go EV doesn't mean we got to make nerdy cars.
No, absolutely. And you remember last year at SEMA, EV was like it looked like it was a whole show about electronic vehicles.
Yeah. So I guess I wanted to get your take on that whole premise of, why should we eliminate the hot rod completely, the gas powered hot rod, and strictly move to the EV? Like what's your take on that idea?
I don't think we should completely go away from the gas-powered hot rod. I believe that it's always going to be around, and I kind of feel like maybe them claiming that you're not going to get it anymore is like Motley Crue saying they're on another farewell tour. There's going to be another tour. Yeah. That's the only way I can put it. And I get it though. EV's here. It's not going anywhere. It's going to continue to grow. It's going to continue to move in the right direction. And you cannot deny the fact that a properly set up EV vehicle, electric vehicle, can transfer power tremendously and smoother. And you watch like Top Gear and they drive some of these foreign cars and they have electric motors at all 4 wheels and just insane power. and even the guy, he's a TikToker in Canada, and he's doing an EV truck, a logging truck.
Edison Motors.
Edison. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I love that guy, and I love there's more of a hybrid because there's a diesel generator that's powering it, and I'm probably talking way above my head, and I'm ignorant on that stuff. But getting back to it, though, EV's here to stay. It's going to be present, and it may evolve into something that's not EV and something much more wild, maybe like that thing that Iron Man had in his chest, powering cars. Who knows? But that would be really awesome. I'd always love to be connected to my vehicle like a transformer. It's a dream of mine. But that would be ultimate. But I don't think gas powered hot rods are going to go anywhere. I think it's going to make the ones that we do have now, the modern ones, more collectible in the future. And hopefully, in 40 years, people are restoring a 2020 Hellcat or something like that. Dodge has always been known for being unique and stepping off and marching to the beat of their own drum, and they're continuing to do so. Ford and Chevy are like two brothers who fight all the time, and Dodge is just over here having fun outside, playing in the yard, eating his ice cream, not caring about anybody else. So more power to them. I like that everybody's dabbling in that market, and like I said, it's here to stay. But I don't think gas-powered hot rods are going to completely disappear. Somebody is always going to cater to that audience because that audience has money and they want it.
Well, that's funny as you said it, Dan. More power to him. I was like, I could see Dodge actually adopting that as a company slogan.
Oh yeah,
more power to him. Like
yeah.
Because they've been so, especially recently, so just obsessed with the horsepower. But I guess two things for me on that topic, and I think, Jason, this was a brilliant idea. This is exactly what you talked about earlier. It's like bring the haters in, right?
Mm-hmm.
To the conversation. So two things for me is like, we've had this topic come up time and time again on the Car Guy and Six Fan Show, and my stance has always been is like, well, we don't know what else we're missing out on yet. Like I'm okay with change, right? Like I don't have to have the exact same thing that we've had for almost a century now, the internal combustion motor, but like I don't understand why everybody's then now so all in on EV. Like it's the solution to me is like, yes, we need to find an alternative fuel. Yeah. But why is it gas versus electric? Why isn't there not just other ideas out there?
It's the new boy band in town.
Yeah.
Well, it really is. And I think if we go back in the chat, John had said that, 2023 is the new 1970, when, the World Economic Forum got together and the oil gods said, oh, we got to de-horsepower everything. And we got to, blah, blah, blah. And that's when emissions kind of took over him. And everyone was all pissed off about that. And now we're sitting back saying the same thing about electric. And, again, Grant coined it. He said, I don't think we really know exactly yet just what it is we're missing out on, because, we can all poo-poo on electric vehicles, EVs, and this and that. But again, Dodge says, okay, if we're going to do this, we're going all in. And we're not just going to make an EV car. We're going to make one that looks badass and something that people are going to want to buy.
Didn't they do like a carbon body that they just revealed?
Well, they did for the 70 Chargers, yeah.
Oh, okay. I bet that's what it was. I only caught part of that.
You can do it. And that's some of the things that they're looking at. So you can go and you can get a carbon fiber full body of a 70 Charger. And I think it's like $100,000 or something like that for that.
But
you can also get a current body style Challenger, just the body, the metal body in primer, for $8,000 US. So fully function, do what you want with it, right? $8,000 for a complete body. And we go back and we said, okay, when year one started repopping the 60 whatever it was Mustang, everyone thought, oh no, blah blah blah, it's not an original, serial numbers and that.
Who cares?
You're building a resto mod. You're going to make it your own anyway.
Oh yeah, cut it up. So, who cares?
So why not? Why not? And AMD is now doing it with the square bodies. You can buy a full square body cab and all the body panels brand new if you want.
That first gen Bronco I'm working on, you can buy a whole tub. And you know what? That Bronco I'm working on, it was hitting the driver's side A pillar and B pillar, and there was so much sheet metal we had to replace. It was very close to being cheaper to buy a tub. And you can do that, and that's great. You can go to Brookville Roadster and get Model A bodies. You can get door panels and everything. I'm not mad about it. Bring it on. I'm all for it.
Well, the other thing I was wanting to say too is like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not even anti-electric vehicle. I don't think it'd be far-fetched to envision myself owning one someday. I have no desire to do that right away. Like, like the newest car I buy is maybe 4 years old on average. So like, I kind of want the technology to be around a while and know that something's dependable before I'm buying a 4-year-old electric vehicle. But so I'm not entirely against it. But when I saw the news released about the Dodge doing what they're doing, it did make me think. It's like, so what happens to used car sales that first year when, like, whenever that tipping point is, whenever most cars being produced are electric vehicles? What happens to the used car market in that? Like, I'm kind of interested to see, because it's like you said, it's the Motley Crue farewell tours. Like, they think they've got it figured out. If it bombs, what happens then? And that's where, again, I go back to my original point of like, don't put all it's diversification of portfolio, right? Like, why were we putting all of our eggs in this basket? And then it's like, all of a sudden, Los Angeles is having a brownout every 3 weeks because everybody's got electric vehicles out there. You're like, oh shoot, this isn't gonna work either.
Well, but yeah, guys. Because when you buy a Tesla car, you need to buy the Tesla home solar powered system as well, and the internet. You know, that's you gotta have it all. But now, do you think that the used cars, the gas used cars, when we get to that tipping point, most new cars are electric? Is it going to drive the price down on these used cars? Are they going to be less valuable, or is it going to make them more valuable because you can't get them anymore? You know,
I think there's a fine line there, though, too, Dan, because like you've got to look at what specific used cars are we talking about?
Cool
because
cars.
I don't. Huh?
Cool cars.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's what I'm getting at. I'm in the used car business, right? So I'm selling used cars every day. So when you say that, you know, you see these memes on Facebook all the time that, no one's ever going to look back and say that, a 2023 Honda Insight or a Toyota, whatever the hybrids are, were cool, because they never were. They never will be. They were basic transportation that gave you 60 miles to the gallon. So the point of used cars, there's still going to be things like the Challengers, the Chargers, the RT Durangos, and the Trackhawks, all that type of stuff in the used market, as long as they've been kept up, will continue to be valuable. The run-of-the-mill, SXT Dodge Caliber will never be a collectible car.
No.
Right? So I think as we move on, I mean, they weren't great cars when they're new, but as we move on and we kind of,
neither were Yugos.
Neither were
just
Yugos. I'm just saying.
Yours is pretty awesome, though.
It will be with a Toyota power plant. I guess the whole point of the conversation is when the EV sales peak 50% of all new car sales, I think the whole world's going to be scratching their head at that point to say, okay,
which side?
Where do we go from here? Because are the battery reliabilities going to be there, for used EVs in the colder temperatures, like up north and way up north in Canada when we get winter for 6 months? Are those EV batteries going to last longer? Are they going to, how are they going to develop these things to give us the range? I've always said this, that until you get to the point where EVs can give you more range than your average gas powered vehicle, you're not going to sell to the masses. I don't think I would be the type of guy that would buy an EV unless I knew I was getting 500, 600, 700 miles on a charge.
Yeah, because they don't seem practical to me. You get in a Tesla and you want to take a 6-hour trip with your family. You have to map out charging stations, which they provide for you in your heads-up display. But then you got to wait at locations for a half hour. Then you're going to go inside and you're going to spend money because kids want snacks and whatever else. And my fat ass wants to go get energy drinks I shouldn't be drinking. And I have the same thought, is for it to be justified for me to want something like that, it either has to have a substantial enough range to where I can rely on it as a daily driver, or it has to be a renewable resource that it's running off of that doesn't make me have to stop at stations. If it ran on, hydrogen powered cars are really cool. And I've seen all the videos. It looks like crackheads making stuff with mason jars in their trunk. But I really want to convert. If I could find somebody to help me convert my roadster to run on hydrogen, I would absolutely do it, because it'd be awesome to like run on a cup full of water all day. If that was feasible, I would do that. But yeah, I think you're not going to hit the masses and get to that tipping point until it's reasonably priced to maintain in the afterlife as a used car. Who's going to buy a car that's 5 years old that needs a $5,000 battery pack?
Yeah,
not many people.
Well,
so just to top on that for one quick second, you talked about affordability.
Yes.
And so if you guys don't know what the Hyundai, the Ioniq, they've got two models, the Ioniq 5 and the Ioniq 6. They're claiming that this is going to be the next big competitor to the Tesla Model 3, simply because of its price point. One of the problems with EVs today is not just the range, it's not the battery, it's the cost. Yes, there's government rebates, this, that, and the other thing, but why is a car the size of a Hyundai Elantra $40,000 and not $20,000?
Yep.
Just because it's EV.
Yep.
Government rebates and all, you're going to be spending more money to buy the car, but yet you buy a Tesla of the same size and you're spending $60,000, $70,000 for it. So the point of EV isn't the cost savings at the pump or at the charging station. The theory is you're saving the planet.
Yep. It
Right.
cost me less to operate and maintain my 1996 Suburban with 400,000 miles on it than it would an EV. But I'm a gas guzzling, big idiot to those people with EVs. And also, when their car messes up after 3 years, they're going to go trade it in before it completely messes up and pawn it off on some other unlucky bastard, and they're going to get a new car because they can do that, or they're going to lease it for 2 years, and we're going to have a bunch of Teslas in a scrapyard somewhere, and then they're going to come alive and attack the world. It's going to be like was Ghostbusters, where they put the goo in it and all the electronics start dancing and stuff.
Well, yeah, I know I was going to go there next, but I wanted to open it up to the chat. We are winding down, but wanted the chat to have a chance to ask questions to Dan. So think of your questions now, and we'll get some of those answered. But,
I'll answer anything.
Like you said, Dan, like if at some point a bunch of Teslas have to end up in a junkyard, nobody's quite figured out what are the ramifications of old lithium-ion batteries stacked on lithium-ion batteries stacked on some steel and corrosion and all these things.
I've watched Terminator. I know what Skynet is. I know what's going to happen.
but then also when you're talking about alternative fuels, like my mind immediately went to, like, we had technologies. I'll put that in air quotes, like propane and natural gas powered cars in the early 80s, but nobody kept a commitment to like innovating on that and how do we make that better? Like it flopped because it was wrong solution at the wrong time, or maybe right solution at the wrong time, I guess, maybe. But just like, in the early 70s, when we just started throwing vacuum hose on vacuum hose on vacuum hose to try to solve the problem. Innovation is really what's carried us out of there. And I have a friend in the oil business, and I remember down in Midland, Texas, we were driving down there and we're like, so what's the deal with all the open flames and all these oil fields? And his explanation to that is like, well, that's natural gas, and it's a lot cheaper for us to just burn it on site than to try to capture it and transport it somewhere and sell it. So that tells me that fuel is stupid cheap. Like, so if your Roadster was a natural gas power, like, I'm just thinking, like, I mean, I don't know what the efficiencies are, right? Like, I don't know.
No, they're really not that far off. Oh, sorry, I wasn't trying to.
No, well, I'm essentially done anyway.
Yeah, okay. Well, so real quick, and then we'll get to these questions. Before I opened my shop up full time, I was a senior technician at a Freightliner dealership, and Freightliner still has propane powered vehicles. Now they have, liquid, LPG or whatever you want to call it. And then they have V8 gasoline, 8-liter GM engines that are in propane delivery trucks, and they run off of propane. They run like crap. They're not very fuel efficient. The natural gas one seems to work a little bit better, but then there's safety hazards involved with things blowing up and static, and you see those rubber straps hanging on the ground behind them, and you have to have a filling station, and they don't want you running the truck off the same tank on the back of the truck. You have to have a second tank on the side, which is pretty much a bomb, on the side of the truck. It has like one little cage, and it's crazy. They're still using it, but it's dumb. There's got to be something better. There's got to be.
Well, I think we can jump into the chat for a few questions. I saw a few come in, some related to the topic and some not. But I think the idea that we wanted to make sure that we opened up and give you guys an opportunity to ask Dan a few questions. So the first one that came in was from Ryan over at Everything is Broken Garage. Wants to know, what's the best beard in history?
That would actually be my buddy B-Dub. He has the most amazing beard. It's actually, him and Jason could be brothers. They're pretty close. But his and my buddy Rick too, they are so well groomed, and it's like they just naturally grow in, and the beautiful. Whereas mine looked like a Joe Dirt beard to start with, and I just got older and just became worse. But yeah, B-Dub's my vote.
Frank's Garage is asking, how do you scrap a plastic car? Now that was when we were talking about EVs and
incinerator.
Yeah.
I don't know, how would you scrap a plastic car, because you either have to recycle it, like I guess you would recycle normal plastic that we do now, I'm assuming.
Well, it depends. Like you go back to the the early or late 80s, early 90s, or whatever when it was when Saturn came out, and all their body panels, except for the roof.
I wish Saturn would come back. I love them.
Right.
Yeah.
So you take those plastic panels now. Depending on the type of plastic it was made of, was it truly recyclable?
Yeah.
But underneath all that plastic was still a metal frame safe vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. So you look at that. Smart cars today, people don't realize that smart cars are built the exact same way as the Saturns were, with replaceable plastic panels on the outside, just in a much smaller form. So I think the idea behind that is that, underneath all of that plastic is still a metal framed vehicle that's made to be safe on the highways. Obviously, if they weren't safe, they wouldn't be on the road. So very little plastic. I mean, granted, everything on the inside is plastic. The bumpers are plastic, stuff like that. And most cars and trucks nowadays are being made with aluminum.
I'll tell you.
And it's wild that those new cars are so much safer with that plastic as opposed to a big 50s steel car. You're going to die in that 50s car. You're not surviving. But you get in that Saturn and you walk away and go have dinner with your family that night.
On my drive home tonight, there was a big traffic backup in the opposite lane of traffic, and it was a bad accident, which caused one car to flip into a ditch upside down, but there was no ambulance around. And I'm like, that's a true testament to the modern day cars. Like that person probably in some way, shape, or form walked away from what looked pretty ugly. The other cars, the whole front ends all like, I mean, you saw like 6 airbags had deployed, and I'm like, there's I could tell all the other crews had arrived at the scene not all too long ago. So it was like, if someone was injured, there would have been an ambulance there. And it was just kind of blew my mind. I think for me, if I'm scrapping a plastic car, I think you have some sort of recycling giant grinder that turns it into like an aggregate of sorts. And then that becomes like, you melt that down for like 3D printer filament or something. I think that's what you do with plastic.
They make it into those little beads that look like Dippin' Dots.
Yeah. Desiccant for your
Well, I mean, like when you go to the metal scrapyard around here, I take a metal part that has plastic on it. It still goes to the metal scrapyard. They have a way to separate the two somehow. I don't know if it's burning it at different temperatures or using magnets or what the theory is. That should be the next show. You guys need to interview somebody that works at a scrapyard so we can ask them all these questions, and also how to get the hot deals. I want to buy scrap out of the scrapyard.
Yeah. So John made a comment. He says, "Weren't the Trabant body panels made of soybean?" I don't know about that. You could be
What
right.
the hell is a Trabant?
Yeah.
What is that?
We're hot rodders here, John. Don't bring up Trabants or Yugos.
No, what is a Trabant? I've never heard of that. Is it just a foreign car? I'm assuming.
It is. It was a 3-wheeled car.
Oh, like
And,
what is it? The BMW Isetta?
Yeah,
that
something
was
like
a
that.
3-wheeled one, I think. Oh,
But
Huh.
it was a real piece of junk.
I did just want to
now I want it.
give credit where credit's due to Everything's Broken Garage. Like, I please turn this into a T-shirt. This I think would sell really well for your channel. Please do.
Smart
Like,
save polar bears.
and if you
Yeah.
need graphic assistance, I'd be happy to
Oh,
create
yeah.
some sort of good 2D graphic of a smog
I need
pump.
I need a sticker to put on the back of the OBS 73 IDI.
Yeah.
I made one that says contains no emissions devices because it has none legally
None.
though, which is great. Yeah, it's smokes its ass off everywhere I drive it.
Well, listen, guys, we're well over the hour point of this show. I think we had some great topic of conversation talking about Dan and what he does for business, and we kind of got into the EV topic a little bit. Hopefully, we can piss off some haters to watch this and comment down below. And so, if you are watching this after and it's in the replay and it's like tomorrow, and you have something to say, make sure you go ahead and comment, because we're going to read those comments. We're going to reply to them and hopefully generate some conversation after the fact. Everybody that's in the chat, thank you so much for being here and being a part of everything that's going on, and having something to say, asking some questions, and making for some great chat. Thank you, Joanne, for moderating and sharing out those links. And thank you to Dan for being our guest here tonight and sharing his wealth of knowledge and that wonderful manly beard. We keep talking. I keep bringing that up. I don't know why.
You guys could have done way better, and I'm glad that you lowered your standards and let me in.
Well,
I tell the same thing to my girlfriend every day. I'm like, I'm so glad that you have very low standards.
Yeah, there's a country song out there that says, "I married up and she married way, way down."
Yep,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly
Anyways,
what it is.
Having said that, Dan, thanks again. If you got any last words for our guests?
No, nothing. Just build what you want to build, do what you want to do. The hell with the haters. Invite them in to make comments. Every comment they make is more views on your videos. Stir the shit pot and have fun.
Well, it's hard. It's gonna be hard to close out and beat that. But Dan, thanks for coming on. Make sure you check out Greasy Boy Kustoms here on YouTube, TikTok, as well as Instagram. So we'll leave a link in the description below, definitely, to his channel. And it is a reminder, the Car Guy and Six Fan Show is a joint operation. So next week it is on my show, and you don't want to miss next week's show, because while it will be a legacy episode in the sense that there will only be 2 screens up, we will have some guests, which will be the significant others for both Jason and myself. And so we will probably hear it from them. We'll say it that way.
Oh,
and
that's fantastic.
So make sure you don't miss that. It'll be on my channel. That's going to do it for this week. Next week, my channel, 7 p.m. Central. Otherwise, to all my Six fans out there, thanks for watching.